Okay, now we're going to read something from Alphonse Allais. He was a Frenchman, was born in 1854, died in 1905, a humorist, and he largely published his works in newspapers as a column. And then later they were put into books. Naturally, they're in French. I'm reading a translation from Miles Kington. And here's a story that's called Post Office Love. When I got out of the train station at Benevy, the first thing I saw was the dog cart belonging to my old friend Lanfleur, who had invited me down for the week. And the first thing I asked him to do was take me to the local post office, because while in the train, I'd suddenly remembered something I had faithfully promised I would do before I left Paris, and which, shamefully, very shamefully, I had not done. Never mind what. Benevy post office turned out to be notable chiefly for an air of austerity, which could easily have tumbled any moment over the brink into penury. The only tools at hand for writing my telegram were a prehistoric pen and a pot of mildewed, virtually colorless ink the consistency of mud. With these, I managed to scratch out a few words of abject apology that passed for my telegram and handed them over to a rather plain lady at the counter. Let's be honest, to an incredibly ugly lady at the counter, who took it ungratefully, counted the words, and snapped back a demand for money, which I tossed back at her through the grill. And as I was about to retire from the premises in the healthy glow of a clear conscience, when I suddenly stopped dead in my tracks, I had just noticed another employee of the post office sitting behind her, a young woman tapping away at the Morse transmitter with her back to me. She was obviously young. She was even more obviously red-haired, and there was a good chance that she was pretty. She had on a plain black dress, which contributed to outline an attractive, ample figure with nothing missing. Her flowing hair was piled up in coils on top of her head, leaving the nape of her neck bare, and an angelic neck it was too, light golden brown, with a little fleece of delicate down coming running down it, and fading almost ethereally away into nothing. Ah, if our souls ever grow hair, it would be hair like that. Till suddenly I had an irrational, mad urge to plunge my lips into the golden hair of that telegraph operator. In the hope that the young lady might turn around sooner or later, I came back to the counter and engaged the old harridan in a long conversation about various post office services. But the beautiful neck went on tapping out Morse remorsefully, and my friend Lanfleur began to get impatient. So I left. Anyone who knows me well will have guessed already that when the post office opened its doors for business the next morning, I was there waiting on the doorstep. This time, the beautiful redhead was on her own, which gave her no option but to show me her face. I had no complaints. It was well up to the standards set by her neck. And what big dark eyes. Have you noticed what stunning dark eyes redheads sometimes have? I bought lots of stamps, sent lots of telegrams, asked after all the various local collection times, and generally spent a good quarter of an hour giving a convincing imitation of an infatuated idiot. She answered all my questions sweetly and reasonably, just like a sensible, well-brought-up young girl. After which, I came back every day, and sometimes twice a day, because I soon found out exactly when she was on duty, and took good care never to miss our little rendezvous, even if it was, sadly, only a rendezvous. To make these frequent visits seem plausible, I had to write letters to all my friends, and then, when I had run out of friends, to people I knew but didn't like. After a while, I found myself sending urgent telegrams to people I hardly knew, who must have thought that I had gone out of my mind. I cannot remember ever having embarked on such an orgy of correspondence. And every time I turned up, I told myself, right, this is it. This time you will declare your great passion. But each time I quailed before her businesslike air, and instead of announcing straightforward, Mademoiselle, I love you, all I could stammer was, another 3 centimes stamp, please, mademoiselle. It couldn't go on like this indefinitely. Quite apart from anything else, I was due to go back to Paris very soon. So I decided to burn my boats and stake everything on one last final throw. I arrived at the post office one morning and sent the following telegram to one of my friends. Coquelin Cadet, 17, Boulevard Haussmann, Paris. I have fallen desperately in love with the little red-haired telegraph operator at Bassamiancourt Post Office. Please advise. I thought it might at least bring a faint blush to the unforgettable white cheeks of my loved one. Not a bit of it. With all the sang-froid in the world, she simply said, "That will be 95 centimes, please, sir." Totally deflated by her majestic lack of interest, I summoned up just enough energy to delve into my pockets for the necessary. As it happened, I was completely out of small change. All I had on me was a 1,000-franc note. There's a footnote. Don't look so surprised. She took it from me, examined it carefully, felt it with her fingers. Obviously, she was satisfied with her inspection, because the prettiest smile imaginably suddenly spread across her features, revealing the most mouth-watering dimples in creation. And then she slipped into the most common, if not to say vulgar, of Parisian accents and said, "Will you be needing your change back, sir?"